All right, shalom, shalom. It's Amaziah Hawadah, KOJ on YouTube. We got the brother Yahshua Libby and now Jesus DiCaprio with us. We also got the brother D Miller joining us. I'm gonna go over Psalms chapter 1, verses 1 through 3 real quick in the Hebrew. Matter of fact, you want to pull up the Hebrew on that one and go ahead and read the scripture for me in English, because I can't hardly see it.
Okay. Blessed Psalms 1 chapter 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat scornful.
Okay. So this is kind of interesting when you look at the Hebrew. Is that first word is ashari, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's being used here is the word ashar, and normally they use that word for like happiness. They tell you that it's happiness. So and we know that when you put a yod on the end of something that's possessive, so it could be like my happiness. But the word I
Mm-hmm.
actually like, I have a better breakdown on it. Um, Ash, or the aleph and the shin, it means foundation, right? And the resh is the head, so it's on high, right? So you can also get my foundation on high, right? And that's the blessed, right? The next thing you have is the ha'ish, right? The hay, which is to reflect, or it deals with omnipotence. Okay, so you got
Mm-hmm.
the hay is also used for like the, so the man, that's what they translate it to. They say bless the man.
Yeah, the definite article.
So ha'ish, right? Aish is the word for man, right? And it's the hand in the midst of the fire, or
Mm-hmm.
to receive in the midst of the foundation, because you got the yod in the middle. That pictograph is a hand, right? The next word is ashar, right? Again, foundation on high, or you could do the fire on high, right? That's the word they use for witch. La means not, right? The lamed and the aleph. Okay. The next word is halek, right? Which means that's the word they use for walk. Okay. You got lek as well, lamed, and the kaf. It's the staff in the hand, in the palm of the hand. So you got reflect and walk right there. Halek. Okay. Next word is ba'at sith. Ba is the prefix, meaning inside. So this is the word they're using for counsel, right? Where it says, "Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel." Right. So you got Aitzah is the word for counsel, but they put the thaw on the end as a suffix, right, which represents the mark. So you got in counsel and the mark, right? And then the next one is the word they're using for ungodly is reshaim. The reshai actually means to do something wrong, right? So with the yam on the end, that word yam is actually seized, but we know the yam makes things plural. Reshaim, the wrong ones, right? Then you got ubadarek, right? Um, Ba being inside again, the prefix. Direct is the ways, right? That's the word they're using for let's see. That's the word they're using for ways there, right? But dar, when you break that down to IBR math, you get dar, which is the age, like or like how people say like a millennia or age or time, and then the kaf, which is the hand. Also, the palm of the hand represents an extension. So you got the age plus the extension, right? And that's in the ways. The next word is hataim, right? You got the het, the tet, and the aleph, which is kata is like the is the word we use for sin, right? And then again, it's plural, so it's the sinners, kataim. And you get again la, which is not imad. This is an interesting one because I'm is means people, right? I'm the ayin and the mem means people or tribe. So you got Ahmad. So you got the people plus the door. That means to stand with, right? The people's door, the people's dimension. Okay, and then you got let's see. Am I going too fast for you, brothers?
No, sir.
Okay, so next word you got is U Bamusheb, right? So you got Bamusheb, which is in. Again, the ba is the prefix. Mush actually means to withdraw, right? Which is like and it's got the U in there, which is the nail or the tent peg, and that's the connection in the midst of the mosh, right? We know mosh means to draw out, like Moshe, right? But mush means to withdraw. Okay, so you got in, you got withdraw, and you got house, right? Which is the word they're using for assembly, right? I think I put down assembly. I think they put let's see, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. I got assembly for that word right there. Hold on, what word did they got for musheb? I can't see your screen. It's too. I can see, but it's real small. It's good. It'd be good for the viewers. I just
For you a little bit. Alt or control. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. You like that? Can you see that?
yeah, because what I got is not stand with assembly scorners, right? So it's the word in the Hebrew should be musheb when you scroll down on there.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Oh, let me pull it back up a little bit. So exactly what we doing. Okay. You good, King?
Yeah, yeah.
All
Actually,
right.
it's
Is it
perfect.
viewable?
Yeah, it's perfect actually.
Is the view good enough for you, or do you need me to adjust it anymore?
No, that's actually perfect. Scroll down to near the bottom of that, like the last part of the definitions. Okay, so musheb is the word they're using for the seat, right? And like I said, that word actually translates to assembly, right? So the next word is let's seem, right? And that word comes
Mhm.
from lutes, and that's the scorners. So let's seem is obviously plural, and it comes from the root word lutes, which is to scorn. All right, so you got the scorners, then you got la again, not yesheb, which is yesheb was interesting because yesh means inside. I mean yesh means the substance, slakia. Yesh, which is the yod and the shin, is substance, and the ba is inside. So you got the substance inside, and that's to sit down, right? So we can see the math on these words. We can go to verse 2.
Absolutely.
But you see breaking these down and how like basically like all the words um basically define themselves. You know what I mean? Okay, so let's see here. Psalms 1 and 2 says, "But his delight is in the law of Yahuwah, and in his law doth he meditate day and night." It's an interesting
And
verse. So we got a key at the beginning, which is the word they're using for four, and it's the palm receiving, right? It's the kaf and the yod, right? The palm of the hand and the hand, and what does the hand do? It receives. All right, so you got the palm receiving. The next word is which is the word for mother. It's also used for if in this sentence right here. All right, the aleph and the mem. And we got Batharuth, right? Batharath, right? Is of course ba again inside. Tor, right, which is the root word in Torah, right? Actually means to seek. right? And then the thaw is let's see, is the mark. So let me see what they got here. Okay, so when they okay, so we see the law. They got Torah as the root word there. Okay, so ba Toroth, right? Like I said, we got in seeking the mark, right? You see that?
Yes, sir.
You can see the math on how I'm saying that. Like when you got
Abs- Absolutely.
right, so you got ba, which is in, Tor is to seek something, and then the thaw at the end, which is the mark. Okay, so that or in the order, right? The law, and then we got Yahuwah, okay, the exister. All right, and then we got Kafetsu, right? Chet Fe at the beginning of that word is actually it means pure, right? Su is the word for discipline, and you'll see that a lot with commandments, the word commandment, things of that nature. It means to be pleased with, right? Because it says his delight is in the law of Yahuwah, right? So that's that word they're using for delight. It's kafetsu. It's the pure discipline, right? So it's let's see, let's move on. So we got Ubatharuth on the next sentence, again in the order, right? Yahgah. Okay, so we got Ga actually means to meditate. We got the Yah and Ga. We got Yah plus meditation. It means that word means to ponder, right? So when you're pondering, your Ga is telling you to be to think about the Most High. And that word they use for they got it down as basically just to meditate, right? We got Yaga, right? This is Yah plus the meditation to ponder. And we got Yomim, which is we got the Yom, and then we got another Mim, which is to manifest. So we got the day plus the manifest. So Yomim means daily, right? You manifest it daily. And we got Uli La, which is the night plus the reflect, right? Plus the reflection of the night. So to meditate or to ponder day and night. Let's go to verse 3 right quick. All right, so Psalms 1 and 3 says, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Okay, so let's look at that. So we got Uhaya, which is and exist, right? The connection plus the existing, and the Haya means to be. But let's see, Kaites, we got the Kaf, and then Ites, right? The Kaf is prefixed meaning like or as, putting together a simile, right? Kaites is as the trees, right? Let's see here. And then with the it's also a good breakdown too for the tree, with the ayin and the sadi, right? The ayin is the focus, right? And then the sadi is it means discipline, right? So if we're gonna be as the trees, we have to have a focused discipline, right? So shathu, the next word, shath or sheth, right? Like the third son of Adam and Eve, means compensation, right? And the lamed is the direction. You got the or the nail and tent peg in the midst of that. And that word means to plant. Shathul, right? Isle is the next one. It means above. It's also the Aramaic derivative of El, the Most High. You got the focused leader, right? The Ayin and the Lamed, right? That's above. The next word is Felagi, right? The Fe, Lamed, Gemel, right? Fall, or the Fe and the Lamed can mean distinguished, right? And then the Gi is a valley, right? Or to split something, right? So you get and this is the word they're using for rivers, right? And also with that yod at the end of it, it's also possessive. So it's like my rivers, Felagi, right? And then the next word, Mayim, the mem is water, of course, and we get revelation on the actual character mem from that, right? And what it means. Ashar, which is which, Feriu, okay? Feri is like is for fruit, right? But you can also break this down as my offering. Afar is a bullock, right? And we know that we offer bullocks. You can also break this down to my offering for reap, right? This you're supposed to bear good fruit, you know what I mean? So let's see. The next word is yathan, right? Which is to receive, right? To receive the mark, right? Or yathan, something that's generated, right? To give. Okay. It comes from nathan, which is a gift, right? And then we got Bayathu, right? The Ba being inside, Ith is a time or a season, in its season. Next word is let's see, Ulahu. Let's see, got Il, which is to ascend, or Allah. Ualahu is to ascend, right? Or to let's see, reflect. I got ascend to reflect and above, right? And this is the word they use for leaf or branch. Okay, let's see. Then we got La, not Yabu, which is let's see. I got she Yeb means to cry out, right? And then we got the direction to produce. Yabu, that's the word they use for produce there. And we got let's see, Ukal, which is all, Ashar, again, which, Yaisha, right? This is the word like when you see in the scriptures, anytime the Most High makes something, that word is Aisha, which means to make, right? Yasha means in this scripture means will do. All right. Let's see here. Then we got Yetzleek, which is Yetz is to bring something out, right? The Lee is shade, and then the Yek is forward, right? So to prosper is to bring shade forward. And that's the word they use for prosper at the end of that verse is Yetzleek. But all right, King, I'm gonna wrap that up, man. Y'all catch all of that? You know, it's kind of moving
And I
fast.
caught him. It was beautiful. I want to say something on that, if I may. Uh, that the spirit of the Most High is in everything he do. You know what I'm saying? Uh, it shows how he preserves all the way until this present day for us to go and look, and you know what I'm saying, and get a deeper spiritual understanding of the scriptures just by looking at the alphabet.
Most definitely.
So it was an excellent. It was excellent how you broke that down, edifying. I learned something. The viewers, I'm sure they learned something. And if I'm sure if they have any questions, they can contact you. And if any viewers want to learn more, you can contact the brother. This. So beautiful build, brother. Beautiful. All praises to the Most High.
Most definitely. And see, that was kind of like what I went over when I was did the those are the questions I have for Zion Lex is about gematria. Like as
Mm-hmm.
you can see, and I know I was moving kind of fast, you can see how the the math and the words break down the words themselves. They give you definition and meaning, just like with the word prosper, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
to bring shade forward. You know what I mean? Now, I know we use a different terminology today for shade. You know what I'm saying? That could also come from math as well. But that's like you're kind of like relaxing. But um, what I'm trying to see with the gematria was how did they do the same thing? Because a lot of times when we tell people about IBR math, that's the first thing that comes to their mind is gematria. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what we're dealing with here. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. Spiritual message or the esoteric message within the alphabet itself. And gematria is basically a numbering system. You know what I'm saying? It can be done with English in the same fashion. So definitely, this is a different, a higher level or higher vibratorial stage right here when we're dealing with the Ibra math as opposed to gematria. So that's very evident. Very evident.
Most definitely. And you know what's crazy is with the gematria thing, and how you said, yeah, it can be done with English as well. Is that we already have a number system in the Bible. You know what I mean? And it's not according to gematria. You know what I mean? So with Hebrew math, we only deal with what's in the scripture. Now, when it comes to placement of the actual characters, Aleph through Tha, you know what I mean? We can go 1 through 22 and use that. You know what I mean? But when you start to delve into larger numbers, you know what I mean? That's when the gematria becomes questionable. It's
Mhm.
like I gave the example of how they say the character for mem is the number 40, right? Because you go Aleph through Yod, which is 1 through 10, and then you go 20, 30, 40, and you start adding on those characters accordingly, right? Well, with the mem, there's no how do you say it? There's no validation besides somebody telling me what it is to prove to me that that's the actual number 40. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When the word 40
Exactly.
is Rebaim in the scriptures,
Mhm.
and I can see why it's Rebaim or Al Rebaim, because you have the Aleph at the beginning, which means relative, and you have the Rabbi, which is the number 4, and then you have the Im, which it makes it plural. You know what I mean?
Can
But yeah, I just want to touch
can.
on that briefly, man. If y'all want to get into that conversation about the Jinn.
So beautiful. Yeah, I wanna so this I wanna dive into that real quick and discuss that with the brother. Just and let the brother build on it.
No doubt.
As you can see, let me stop this for a second. Okay. So, family, as you've seen, did a beautiful build. Check out the video, rewind it, go back, take some notes, and get some edification. So when it comes to me and a brother D Miller, uh, we were discussing what we call the jinn, all right? And according to what I've learned, these jinns are smokeless or beings made out of smoke, right? And when I was little, this is the funny thing. When I was little, right, they used to tell us, let the toilet seat down in the bathroom. And they used to say, let the toilet seat down in the bathroom. Always make sure you flush the toilet. And I used to ask why. And my grandmother used to say, because jinns live behind the toilet or jinns sit on the toilet because it's quote unquote the most filthiest place in your living quarters. And what I come to find out that what we call these jinns in Islam is basically what we would call demonic spirits in the Hebrew faith or Christianity. Uh, I'm gonna read a piece to you guys, and then I'm gonna let the brother build on it. This piece, it says this: throughout history, man has always had a deep attraction for the supernatural and unseen. The existence of a world parallel to our own has always fascinated people. This world is commonly referred to as the spirit world, and almost every set of people have some concept of one. Now, when we go into the spirit world, a lot of people would say, "Oh, this is not a thing that's outside of self." Well, it is and it isn't. I say it is because everything we see in the physical realm was brought forth via spiritual realm. And when I say it is, it means that this spiritual force, or what we would call in the Hebraic faith the kingdom of God, is in us. It's what the Gnostics called that spark within self. So I would say it is and it isn't. Just some more. With some people, these spirits are more than the souls of dead people or ghosts. So we would call these in the Kakongo African cosmogony, we would call these twice born spirits or Simbis. This is what we would call so. And this is the same concepts behind these deities, forces, spiritual beings, what have you. It says, with some people, these spirits are more than just souls of the dead or ghosts. With others, spirits are either the force of good or the forces of evil, both battling against one another to gain influence over humanity. Now, in the scriptures, it relates to us not battling against flesh and blood, but spiritual wickedness and principalities in high places. So, with let me read that one more time. With other spirits are these forces good and evil. Now, this what we will also call the higher self and the lower self. This is also represented by what they call the Magen David, or the 6 point star, or the shield of David, however you want to coin it, conquering the lower self and the higher self. And in that central point is the seat of the Most High. Okay, so it says both battling against to gain one another, to gain influence over humanity. However, both of these explanations are more in tune with folktale and fantasy. The true explanation of such a world comes from Islam. Like every other way, Islam also claims to explain this realm of the unseen. It is from this realm that Islam explains to us about the world of the jinn. Now, let me go back 1 second, so I don't want to go over people's head and make people thought they heard something that they didn't. Right? It says, however, both of these explanations are more in tune with folktale and fantasy. Why are they in tune with folktale and fantasy? Because as ancients, when we told folk tales, we told them in order to give understanding to something that was beyond our physical comprehension on a comprehensible scale that we can understand as humans. Just like when you deal with in what we call the Holy Bible, the creation story of Adam, God making him from the dust of the ground, taking a rib out. But in your mind, if he's making it from the earth itself, then one can assume that God jumped out of heaven, came down, landed on earth, took a pile of dust, created Adam, fashioned a form, and took back up and jumped back up in the sky. But that's really not how it is. What it is cosmology that explains something that's happening in the heavenly realm, which is outside of space and time, not in the cosmos, so we can understand it on a physical level. So this is where folklore come in. and fantasy come in, where you are what you would call imagining. Most people call this fantasy, but we call it imagining. And in this process in Hebraic thought, this is how the Most High brought the universe into existence. God made man in his image, not in the physical likeness of him, but in his imagination. When we say image, we mean the very thought that's produced by a function of just being. So when the Most High, just like the Holy Quran says, he said, let it be, and it just was. There was no separation in between times. And this is why people have so much trouble with the scriptures when they read, God made the sun on this day, or God made vegetation on this day, and then he made the sun. So you'll hear arguments like, well, how could God make vegetation on this day without any sunlight? You see what I'm saying? But what they're not understanding is it's all happening in spiritual realm. All this is taking place. So what we do, we deal with folktale to dumb it down so we can understand on a physical level. So let me jump to my last point, and I just want to bring this out. The jinns are beings created with free will, living on earth in a world parallel to mankind. These are what you would call dimensions. The Arab word jinn is from the verb jana, which means to hide or conceal. Thus, they are physically invisible from man, as their description suggests. The invisibility is one of the reasons why some people have denied their existence. Just like we cannot physically see wind. We cannot physically see what the shape of wind is. We know it's there. People don't deny that. But what we have is a society who base their perception of things on just that perception. Senses: touch, taste, feel, smell, and see. Anything beyond those senses, we start to lose sight of. We don't comprehend. We can't fathom. You understand? So what we do is we tend to not believe, and that's the adversary's greatest trick. If you don't believe, long as you don't believe, he can stay doing his work. Long as you don't know, he can stay doing his work. So it says, however, as will be seen, the effect of which world of the jinns has upon our world is enough to refute this modern denial of one of the most high creation. The origin of jinn can be traced from the Quran and the Sunnahs. God says, indeed, we created man from dry clay, of black smooth mud, and we created the jinn before that from the smokeless flame of fire. From the smokeless flame of fire. That's the Quran 15, 26 through 27. Now, thus the jinn were created before man. As for their physical origin, then the prophet, peace be upon him, may the mercy and blessings of God be upon him, as confirmed the above verse when he said it. The angels were created from light and the jinns from smokeless fire. So when we see what the function, the core function of these jinns are, it is the actual opposite of light. Whereas wisdom, light is God's wisdom, or the Most High Allah's wisdom, and what you would call the jinn is Allah's the darkness, the darkest state of man. And we can calculate this with the lower self. We can calculate this with demonic presence. But in Hebraic thought, we like to calculate this with one saying, adversary, whether it be of the Lord nature, whether it be of a spiritual force entering the body through channeling, or through some type of meditation by clearing your mind and allowing certain energies to take control over your body. We call it adversary, being in constant conflict with the light. So this is what these jinns are created for, to keep us in constant conflict with the light, or keep us opposed to the light. So that's my piece on it. As I said, I'm not a practicing Muslim, but I have a little background in Islam. But it's a brother on the panel who has an extensive background in Islam, and he's a lot more educated on this than I am. But the brother gave me the pleasure of building on this and bringing out a point in reference to the jinn. So I thank the brother, and I pass the floor over to the brother, brother D Miller.
Peace, peace. First thing I want to do, man, is thank Brother Amaziah, man. Brother, I appreciate your build. I definitely appreciate you having, Brother DiCaprio and I here on the line to discuss what I feel is interesting, man. I think it's fun. I think it's enlightening. I'm sure that we're going to end up, saying the same thing at the end. I'm sure it's like we're saying something very different at first. And who knows, man, maybe we both going to say something that we ain't never heard. And we can learn too. It ain't, maybe the listening audience as well as you and I, brother, are going to learn something to one another as well. So I want to start with that. Wow. So I think what I'm going to do right now, man, is just kind of lay something out. And then I think we can, if that's where it goes, kind of go back and forth. But I'll just kind of make a couple of statements, try to make a couple of points. And like I said, we can go from there. I think you've made quite a few points. I'm not necessarily going to address all of them or any of them. I'm just going to kind of make some points too, and then we can kind of go back and forth if you're down with that, brother.
No sweat, King. No sweat.
Okay. So, as the brother said, I definitely come from the Moorish perspective, Islamic, if you will. Definitely a Moorish Science Temple perspective, although I've studied Islam from the Nation of Gods and Earth's perspective, the NOI perspective, the, Sunni, Sufi. I've definitely, taken my time with these as well. Something else I should say, I also go by, especially on the Facebook, I go by the nomenclature Eshu. Most people know me as D Miller L. But Eshu is basically, from the time that I've spent with what we refer to as maybe traditional African religion, Anda by name, is like the same as Palomayombe, Santeria. I don't mean to say it's the same. I mean to say it's in the same vein.
Right.
Religions per se that are traditional in Africa but have a slightly different complexion. Islam, maybe they're mixed with Christianity, the Hebraic traditions, whatever the case may be. I want for the audience that's a part of where I'm coming from. Again, started off with the Moorish, Noble Drew Ali, all the way down into the traditional West African traditions, right? So, okay, the jinn. The jinn is an interesting concept. I could attack this from so many different angles. I could kind of address this in so many different angles, or at least give my, as a Moor, perspective on it. Maybe there are Moors that would disagree with me, right? Maybe there are Muslims that would disagree with me. But I'll go ahead and just lay it out there. I'll lay it out there. One of the first things I'll bring the listening audience, their attention to, is, especially amongst the Moorish Americans and most Muslim countries, they have a symbol that they use, a symbol of a star, a particular star. Star is kind of related to maybe earlier, some kind of malicious, evil, or even demonic. It's the 5-point star. the pentagram. This is heavily used in the Islamic world. This is definitely the star that is on the Moorish American flag. This star has a history of science and mythos attached to it. And some of it can be considered evil. I know that the average listener has seen, you know, Satan worshipers, devil worshipers, or just people with malicious intent dealing with this pentagram, doing rituals in a pentagram, building, you know, aspects of a nation with this pentagram in mind. So I want to make sure that we kind of bring what is already in front of your face, what is basically hidden in plain sight, there in front of you, if you actually are looking at it. Also associate that same five-pointed star with like witchcraft. So people that are dealing with, you know, maybe voodoo, all the way to the European, dealing with the quote unquote witchcraft, you'll see a symbol. You'll see these kinds of symbols being used amongst these groups of people. I'll take a step off of that. I'll just kind of let the mind kind of, you know, deal with that. The next thing I want to say is that, you know, in certain traditions amongst the Islamic people, there's this idea the jinn, they have like, they interact with man in a very interesting way. Like if you read some of the stories, a lot of us grew up in that era with Aladdin, you know, that Disney movie. There was a jinn in that movie, but he's not bad. What you call him is a genie, right? Among Islamic people and their folklore, there's this idea of a lamp with a jinn inside or a genie inside who is bound to wishes, right? So there's this jinn thing that's already in the folklore, you know, representing kind of like this spiritual thing, this entity, right? I think the last thing that I should say, the next thing that I want to touch on, and this might kind of bridge the gap between the Islamic and the Hebraic. What you start to see is that there's this character named Solomon. Solomon. In fact, some people say that that five-pointed star is the seal of Solomon. You have a shield of David, you have a seal of Solomon. They say one is a hexagram and one is a pentagram. This now starts to elaborate a little bit, because now once we bring up this character Solomon, we start to understand there's certain qualities attributed to Solomon. And the ones that I want to point out specifically, especially amongst the Islamic tradition, there is this idea that he had control over that the jinn were subject to him. I know in the Hebraic tradition, it is understood that he married so many women, and these women were of different cultures, some of them pagans, that, you know, he kind of lost his way dealing with these different cultures, or at least these different women in their cultures. However, it is also acknowledged that he is among the wisest. He is not looked at negatively. Put out there, just something to kind of start to entertain.
Hey, you went.
What's that?
A second. No, I said you cut out for a second.
All right, what was the last thing you brothers heard?
You talking about ideas to entertain.
Okay. So that was actually the last thing I was just saying just there. The idea here is that the jinn and the righteous are connected in a certain kind of way. especially the ruler of the righteous. Someone like a King Solomon, who is governing, the righteous, the commander of the faithful. He had powers over the jinn, and there are stories and cult books about, the seals of Solomon. Cultic books and books on, maybe what could be considered witchcraft and demonology, etc. I think I have like one more thing that I want to get across, and then I think we can just start to go back and forth. I think the final thing that I want to say is that there's beyond genie that is associated with the word jinn, and that word is genius. Kind of get back to what the brother even had, spoken on, and I know we're talking about jinn and its association with. There is a saying that's pretty commonplace, and it's called the evil genius. So, I think as a closing, I'm going to say that the jinn, something that you want to look at holistically. You're going to want to look at this concept and this idea holistic, comprehended. I don't think that this is going to be a situation of the jinn is this or that. I think that we're going to notice that the jinn is this, that, both of them at the same time, and neither one of them at the same time. I think that it's going to be kind of difficult down to a particular phenomenon, but I think that we're going to come to the conclusion that we're saying the same thing, we're talking about the same thing, and we even call it maybe by the same name. Just, this is a very, very large, profound, subtle idea to try to get across to people. So, let's just see what happens, brother. Go ahead.
Oh, that was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was beautiful, brother. Beautiful build. I just want to say, that brother stated in the beginning, we're probably going to end up agreeing, and that's what it seemed like, because I agree with everything the brother just brought out. And I meant to bring this out as well, another nature of the jinn. There is a story about an ancient Kemet about Ramesses' wife. She had a sister in Nekhbet, which was situated near Mesopotamia. Her sister fell ill due to what you would call a dark spirit. Khonsu, the god Khonsu, well, her sister, a message was sent up from the priest that her sister was sick and evil spirits had fell over her. So Khonsu was sent, the god Khonsu, and his priests. Well, first priests were sent. The spirit was too powerful for these priests to exorcise out of this woman. So then they consulted Khonsu. They went back and consulted Khonsu. And once the god Khonsu came, Khonsu confronted this spirit, and this spirit lifted out this woman immediately. Before the spirit lifted out this woman, the spirit actually had a conversation with Khonsu. The spirit actually told Khonsu, you were the ruler of these people, and I am out of bounds for even attempting what I'm doing. So the spirit was actually removed, and from that point, the spirit recognized the higher spiritual force over him, over it. So the spirit was actually now a slave to Khonsu Ray. In the scriptures, You have Christ exercising demons out of people. And he's turning these demons into believers. These demons are actually worshiping, dropping down and worshiping and giving Christ the worship. The Most High said he created jinns for his worship. You understand? So I just wanted to bring that aspect too, because we know that unrighteousness can be turned into righteousness at the drop of a dime if the Most High wills it. So I just wanted to bring that aspect into it, that when we deal with jinns or that genie, like my old rap name was Genie Lamp Stamped It. When we deal with genes or that genie and the old cartoons of Aladdin, when they had it in a lamp, what they would call themselves was doing was concealing the spirit until they needed it. In ancient Kemet, they had what you would call soul houses to house certain spirits. So this is not a new phenomenon. We just have to examine what's going on and examine it deeper. Like I said, me and the brother, I completely agree with the brother. But we just have to examine it deeper for those who may be curious about what this is. So we actually have two aspects of this. And the scripture says, we know the scripture says, the Most High created good and he created evil. You see what I'm saying? And that's not to say that the Most High is responsible for homosexuality, pedophilia. No, the Most High gave those people up to a reputable mind, so that these people would indulge in this type of wickedness. That's one aspect of the jinn controlling their thoughts. So the concept of the jinn can be closely contrasted with that of the demon in the Hebraic thought, or that of certain entities or deities that's channeled, that's physically manifested when you deal with white magic or black magic. So the brother's right on point, and I just want to thank Amazon for giving us the platform to even share this information with each other and build on it. But I just wanted to bring out two aspects, because, like I said, when you deal with the negative, the higher self and the lower self, and then you deal with that central point, that's what we are trying to get back to. Once we conquer the lower self, go ahead, Kay.
No, that's right. I wanted to add on. I'm glad you just took a breath right there, man, because you're on fire. So you said so much. I want to just start with the tail end of it. First thing that comes to my mind is again, so, we've been making certain statements. So like, what's the meaning, we'll say, behind having a pentagram on a flag? Or what's the meaning of Solomon's seal being a pentagram? Quote unquote control over the jinn. You have mentioned the lower self. As more right under we'll say, the tutelage of Noble Drew Ali. We know that there are 5 principles, that we are basically supposed to utilize. Is basically to rope in the passions, right? To not allow for the passions to overflow and allow for desires to just run our lives. You know what I'm saying? Our thirst and our hungers to just run our lives, right? We should be a principled people. As they say, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. Learn how to capture our devil, to put him and to bound him. This is the meaning of that. This is a symbol of victory over the devil. Flag. Known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. This is the conquering principles. This is the meaning of that. Why is that there? About the jinn, right? There is no doubt about the influence of the jinn. It's just we have taken it as a nation. We have taken it as a part of our national responsibility. This is a standard approach, like you have mentioned, right? To becoming civil, to be this makeru. Well, it's the same with any nation today, right? All nations are kind of building upon the same idea. Civilization is one. There's only a singular concept for it. Protocol. It starts with the principles and bleeds into what we call protocols, right? The script, the protocol. Starts with the principle. Now, again, the genie in the lamp. See, some of these passions, as the brother said, some of these passions have value. Let's talk about the most obvious one. Let's talk about what we call today martial arts. Right? Martial arts. Self-defense. So the idea here is that surely you could use this in an evil way to become what is referred to as. But for the one who uses it wisely, it's not considered an evil genius. They're just considered brilliant. Like this appears, and when this pulls up, all the other ones fade out into the darkness. Like there's nothing, because he's the most brilliant one. Right? He's more brilliant. When he shows up on the scene, all the other ones fade. There's no, there's no comparison. So again, the idea here is like, okay, what about this jinn, and what about, the role that it plays with man? What is so intricate about it? Well, I hope that we've started to kind of unravel the idea or the mystery that it's coming in different kinds of ways. The jinn is expressive in various ways. And again, to have a degree of self-control, self-discipline, allows for one to genuinely be successful. Right, fam? I'm sure you would maybe even entertain this idea. The idea of the ego is not 100% bad. Ego is out of control that it's bad. In fact, you need ego. Without the idea of I, there is no self-preservation. You have to have a degree of ego to experience the I factor. If you don't have any ego, then there is no I. To exist, you differentiate yourself in the world. Right? Now, again, ego out of control. And I'm using ego, and I hope that everyone's catching on. The ego is that fire. It is that. It is the urge. It is that wickedness. It is that jinn. It is that. It's the thing that's in the lamp that'll grant your wishes. Right? Careful what you ask for, kind of thing. But the point is, the point here is like be able to channel fire, right? Be able to channel your urges, right? Do not, allow for the lower self to just run you. You should kind of be directing your focus, directing your attention. Don't allow for whatever kind of gets me fired up is where I'm at. Right? That's just moving from impulse to impulse. There's no logic there. That's wickedness. That's when the ego's out of control. Jinn is having control over mankind. Right now is the problem. On the planet Earth, human being moves to and fro based upon likes, dislikes. That's all impulsive. There's no logic to that. Like red, maybe you like green. Why?
Right.
You feel me? It's just impulse. It's what I feel that I like red. It's a feeling. It's something that just takes me over. It's just that. There's no logic to that. Don't ask me why do I like red. There's no logic in that.
Right.
It's because it's righteous and red is no, man. It's impulse. There's no logic in that. Now again, when you allow for an illogical impulse, an illogical urge to move you to and fro in the land, you have become the devil. You are that jinn. You are the one seeking whom you may devour. You are that one. Impulse to impulse. Expressing likes, dislikes, fears, and angers. That's just it. You go from one to the next. No time for introspection, no time for meditation, just impulse to impulse to impulse. Your life has been governed by impulse. This is the devil. This is the jinn. Right? This is why even the jinn is submit to the will of Allah. Quote unquote man. Right? The Quran is not just for man, it's for the jinn as well.
That's right.
It's a means in which you govern your passions. It's a way in which you govern that fire that makes you you. We have a teaching in the Moorish Science Temple. If you want to find your devil, look within. You want to find your God, look within.
That's right. That's right.
That's what we know. And surely the human being is the vessel.
And just for the people, so they don't
go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
That's not. It's not a contradiction that the brother's saying there is no creator of the universe. So let's keep that in mind. He's telling us what Christ told us: the kingdom of God is within you. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, continue, brother.
Sure. You know, it's things where if you will allow yourself, but to be within the bounds of the law, you will have a perfect expression. That's the thing. It's not to say that, you're trying to tell me what I should be doing. Not really like that. It's more like there are wise actions and there are unwise actions. Of actions are going to yield certain kinds of results. There's no getting around it. It's like the promise of Allah. There's certain things you're not going to get around. You're not so unique that you get around, the law. That's not ever going to happen for anyone. All things, all of creation is subject to the law. So I think the idea here is, and I find this interesting about the book. I'm going to say something that may be a little controversial. I'm going to say that nowhere in the book is Allah fighting the devil. Allah is not, they're not on the same level. You follow? They're not partners. They're not equals. Right? Allah and Shaitan. They're not equals. Allah and the jinn. They're not equal. They don't have the same footing. That should be clearly understood. And what makes it even more interesting, in my opinion, about the scriptures, and I've noticed most people are kind of wrestle with it, is that there is never a time in which the devil is destroyed. Right? And I mean to say gone for good, never to return, like that kind of concept. There are times of victory. There are times of conquest, right? There are times in which there's a conquering that happens. When we look at the scriptures, all I'm really saying is that in the big picture, it has a foe. Is born into this world is going to experience that foe. That foe is not just going to disappear when the next group of men appear on the planet. Is that clear?
Clear, that's clear.
The jinn, the shaitan, he is going to be here. He is like a part of the garden, right? He was put there. He's a part of the garden. You're not going to remove that from the garden, right? As the next generations come, they're going to come across this flow. And it's because that is how we come to know, right? It's through this first identifying with the devil and then realizing I'm not the devil. I didn't even have any control over myself and that I was being impulsive, right? The devil was running me. You follow? In the beginning, you think you are your likes, your dislikes, your fears, and your angers. That's who you are, right? You don't have this other idea of higher self. That doesn't exist to you. You have to express yourself. You don't like some shit, pardon my language. Again, if you're moving based upon your likes, your dislikes, your fears, and your angers, what naturally starts to happen is that, you know, like I said, you make up a history. And this history you identify as yourself. You start to say, I am, you know, all of these things, right? Everything I've experienced, right? So then when you have a feeling about it, you feel that it's authentic to express your emotions. You think you're being authentic, right? You think you're being like God. You're keeping it real. Unfortunately, you're not. You're expressing an emotion that's subject to change. Allah doesn't change. If it was real, it would be unchanging. Right? Isn't that how we determine what is real and what is not?
That's right.
Right? How do you identify a thing? It has to be objective. It has to stand still. The Creator, the Most High, is what is real. Right? That are changing, right. Those are the illusionary types of aspects of this creation. They're coming and going. You know, they're changing like the seasons. We don't believe in death. It's seasonal. Life is eternal. You know, changing. Life is forever. Right? Life is. The changing part, the growing up, the maturing, the getting old, that's the changing thing. That's the part that's not real. If you believe in that, then you probably believe and you're probably afraid of the idea of death. Right? Getting back to this analogy, this death thing. Right? So now this is a very real thing too. Long time, our people have claimed to be able to communicate with their ancestors and again, to make a connection with the Hebrew. There is a degree of ancestral worship or reverence amongst the Hebrews. First and foremost, it's about lineage. I rarely hear a Hebrew reference their God without referencing their forefathers as well. Isaac. I hear this. You even identify the Most High God as your father. This has a degree of like family orientation and ancestors and life itself, eternity. You know what I'm saying? And this thing about what is really driving humanity, what's really driving, like you had mentioned the spirit, but I'm gonna close it with this. You had mentioned the spirit and the idea of housing a spirit. Israel is a spirit. And they have a house. And it's generating the spirit. It maintains the dynamic of the spirit. You know, it's like the martial art reference I had brought up earlier. When you have a build that maintains a particular fighting style throughout the ages, it's as if they're cultivating a spirit in that house. It's as if that spirit lives and it lives through the generations. It begins to express itself through the disciples. Art style. a genius. This is a genius, a brilliance, right? But if used, it could be considered evil. If within the bounds of the law, it will grow up and be perfect. Go ahead, brother. The floor is yours.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Uh, beautiful points. Beautiful points. Beautiful points. Uh, and I just want to, like I said, I agree with 99% of what you brought out. Absolutely factual. But I want to touch on one thing you mentioned as far as Hebrews dealing with some form of ancestor worship. All right. Okay. In the context of worship, we have what you would call venerating, paying homage, and then you have what you actually call worshiping, looking to for guidance, looking to for something. In this context is how we don't deal with the ancestors. In the context of worship, as far as reverencing, paying homage, bearing witness, we deal with it in that aspect. I'll tell you something. I'll give you an example. In certain African traditional systems, they will summon the spirit of the ancestors. And you made a good point by saying the spirit of that ancestor lives in that house through ways, traditions, or whatever. Great point. But let me give you an example of what I'm saying here. In African cultures, certain African cultures, they will actually call up the spirit of the ancestors. They will look to the spirit of the ancestors to guide them through certain paths in life or through their path in life. They would look to the spirit of the ancestors to give them certain information. They would look to the spirit of the ancestors to give them certain knowledge about science. When we deal with the Africans in science, we're talking about a system which you will call voodoo. When we deal with Africans in science, we're not dealing with a westernized scientific mind. We're dealing with the spiritual is connected to the physical. So this is the science of African spirituality, right? So now, as far as the Hebrew Israelite or the Hebrew culture and ancestors, we don't bow to the ancestors. We don't offer them any food. We don't pour libations to them. Why? Because they are resting. We don't call up those who are resting and ask them for anything. What we do is we acknowledge and go directly to what they would call Nyame. I'm going to use that for, it's the same God. We go directly to Nyame. We don't go through intermediates. We don't go through a certain divinity, a certain deity to get to the Father. Now, most people might say Christ. Well, y'all, what about Jesus? What about Christ? Let's not get Christianity as it's taught today confused with Hebraic thought. In Christianity, as it's taught today, Christ is literally worshipped as a God. When I mean worship, I'm not talking worship in the sense of the Hebraic thought as reverence, paying homage, showing gratitude. When I say worship, I'm saying worship in the sense as bowing to, reverencing as your God, asking for something. We don't ask Christ to give us anything. We ask the Most High to give it to us in the name of his purest laws, which of the laws that governs the universe, that created everything in the cosmos, which came through and was down here on earth to symbolize and to show us how to get back to that perfect state when we was in that perfect state we were in when we were in the garden. Now, if you remember the Garden of Eden story, I hear people say, if God is all knowing, why was he walking through looking for Adam? He should have known where Adam was at. Garden of Eden this. But see, what we don't understand is we must not be looking at African cosmology, because we know, dealing with the fall of man, that Adam conversation with the Most High was in the spirit realm. When the Most High was looking for Adam, it was because Adam had already fallen. Where did Adam fall from? That purest state of consciousness. He wasn't on that frequency no more. So the Most High wasn't walking through a literal garden looking for Adam. This is taking place in the heavenly realm, just as we see in the book of Revelations. Just as the Most High say, the devil has, woe to you inhabitants among the earth and the seas. The devil has come down there with great wrath. Now this is a spiritual force that's come down here, that came through certain vessels, certain spheres, certain dimensions, to be able to manipulate what's going on down here on the planet Earth. Right? So just keep in mind, and the brother, like I said, the brother made some beautiful points. Keep in mind that when we deal with African-centered thought and when we deal with Hebraic-centered thought, African-centered thought, like I gave you the example about Nayame, being too far off to be petitioned. So he created lesser gods to deal with the affairs of man. The Most High in Hebraic thought did not do that. He sent us a king, a priest, one who would lead us physically into war, until getting up out of this nonsense that we're in. So, example, the name the brother gave me, he said his name was Issue. Issue is a messenger of Obatala, if I'm correct. Right? He's the messenger god. And his job is only to take the request of the people in the community and deliver it to the Almighty. Now, here's the thing. When you deal with certain quote unquote gods, or what you would call it, with certain ancestors, they were only exclusive to that community, that town, or that village, or that occupation. They were only exclusive to that. So if you was in iron making, you would pray to who? Oshun, or Ogun, if I'm not mistaken, the god of iron. Why? Because this is the spirit who controls this element. You understand what I'm saying? When you deal with Egwe, you would deal with the river, a river goddess. And libations and sacrifices would have to be made. Therefore, when someone went out on a river, they made a good catch. This is the difference between Hebrew thought and African thought. In African thought, you actually have patriarchs who lived and then was later deified as a god. Hence, Duty Bookman in the Haitian Revolution. After his death, he was deified as Aloha. Aloha is one who intercedes on the behalf of man for the creator. In African thought, in Hebraic thought, we don't have that. Only difference between us, we don't make statues for the spirit to dwell in and then we fall before the statues. We don't do that. We do not go to intermediates. We go straight to the creator himself. So that's just a slight difference, but the cosmology and cosmogony is almost identical. But the practices within is different. The way the creator is approached in reverence is different. That's the only difference, because we have to keep in mind that this is an African culture, whether we want to admit it or not. When I say Africa, I'm just talking about that part of the region. If you really want to know, the word Africa comes from one of Abraham's sons, and I'll get into that later. But when we deal with this Hebraic thought, we have to understand that we're just tapping into the power of the universe. We're not tapping into anybody who's been dead for 100 years and harnessing up their energy or spirit. We don't harness up, or we don't pay homage or lay out food for them in the memory of them. We don't do any of this. We just worship the one creator through his son, which was not a figurative Orisha or Neter. His son represent those laws that created the universe. So we take those laws that created the universe, that perfect vibration, and through that perfect vibration, we reach its source. And from its source is where we get our answers. You understand what I'm saying? So, because when we go through Christ, the answers, we go through Christ to get to the Most High. He gives us the answers. Through Christ. We go through Christ because Christ is the purest manifestation of the cosmos, unharnessed, the unseen that's outside of space and time. By looking at the model of Christ, we see the model of the Heavenly Father. That's why Christ said, when you see me, you have seen the Father. He wasn't saying me physically as a flesh and blood man. He was saying these principles that I'm representing. That's why he said, I'm the way, the truth, and the light. No man come through the Father but by me. He's not saying his physical self. Because you have to remember, the good teacher said, good teacher, Rich Ruth said, the young prince said, good teacher, what must I do to inherit eternal life? Christ replied, why do you call me good? No one is good but one, that's the Father. So he was telling us right there, he's just there as a vehicle for us to jump on in the Heavenly Father, which is Nayame. You get what I'm saying? So this is the difference between the Hebraic thought and the African thought. We reverence our ancestors. We pay homage to our ancestors. But like what we do with Purim, with Esther, but we do not worship. And I'm going to hand it over to the brother real quick.
Yeah, I'd like to say something. That was very well said. Yeah, that was very well said, brother to Jesus. And I just wanted to say I agree. That was very well said. I just wanted to say that.
No doubt, no doubt.
Appreciate it.
All right. I'm gonna say this, man, like about what you said. I agree with the latter part of what you were saying. The way in which you were trying to describe the differences is what I disagree with. Right. So the overall summary that you came to, there's no disagreement. The perfecting of oneself, the hierarchy, no disagreement there. But the way that you're describing the differences, like one thing that stuck out to me, brother, you said, you know, we'll say the African traditions are more of a local thing. You know what I'm saying? And they build a house or they build some kind of a shell to house a spirit, and that don't do that.
Yeah.
I do recall certain prophets being commissioned to do just that, right? A tabernacle, the temple in Jerusalem. These are very important. Even the Ark of the Covenant. I believe that was a apparatus used to communicate directly with the Most High. So a relic, like some of the other, if you will, idols, or just, you know, items that really have a major function and meaning behind it, you know, they're similar. Even the idea of, you know, not necessarily, how much are we going to big them up as far as our ancestors? I know that the Hebrews very plainly state they know who the authors of the various books are of that book. They know who the authors are. Like Muslims know that the hands or the one in which the Quran comes through is Muhammad. So we know, like, for example, the book of Psalms comes through a man named David. So in fact, if you ask the average Hebrew Israelite, do they believe that that book is the word of God? They will say yes. In fact, knowing that their ancestors were divinely inspired to produce that book. They know who the authors are of the books. But they will also say in the same breath that it is the word of the Most High. Now, I don't have any issue with that. What I'm saying is do not negate the fact that it came through your ancestors. In the book, it does state to, have reverence for your fathers and your mothers, right? So that your days may be long on the earth land. So as you said, there is a degree of respect that is given. There's a degree of reverence that is given. And in fact, certain ones were divinely inspired among your lineage. So whether we're going to elevate them, to the status of prophet, right? Or whether we're elevating the word that came through them as being the word of God, I think that we cannot negate the fact that that's of your lineage. It comes through the people. So there is a degree of recognition of the ancestors and, just being a practical person. Every time you utter from the book of Psalms, you are giving reverence to David, and there's a reason for that. It's out of a genuine respect. It's not to, overshoot the issue and try to, make them out to be the Most High. But it is to acknowledge. It's the same reason why even before you utter the name of the Most High God, you acknowledge the one who taught it to you. You didn't know that name. Someone among your lineage told you that name. Someone among your lineage gave you that deen, that discipline. And you know who it is. You know who wrote certain books. You know who wrote the book of Revelations, now don't you? All the Hebrews do. Just like they know who wrote the first 5 books. They know. They know that's of their kin. They know this. So it's similar, right? Not so deviant. Deviant. Even just taking it one step further about, these idols or these forms and these fashions. I think the only wickedness, dear brother, is when we begin to worship the form and the fashion. So my understanding is that ceremonies, right, rituals, these are but, kind of like it's almost like an analogy, or a synonym, it's a way in which you can kind of practice for the real thing. You dig? So there are certain things that we do in our religions, right? In our religious practices and our deen. And all of these things are preparation, like we had mentioned the martial arts. There's a reason, for example, in certain martial arts, why they make you practice doing push-ups on your knuckles. It's because when you're ready for the real thing, you're going to need a little strength behind that meat. You're going to need to deal with those nerves that are right there between the skin and the bone. These are preparation. You should not get into the situation where you're, idolizing yourself doing push-ups and you're so great at doing push-ups. Now you have begun to worship the ritual. You have begun to worship the ceremony, the form, right? You're worshiping the idol, right? It's a means to an end. Understood. So all of the various disciplines, I feel in a lot of the occasions, whether it's the idol that they've made or the form in which they make salat, they have come to worship that, meaning they start to determine how righteous you are based upon how you come in form and fashion, right? They start to tell you you're not an authentic Muslim because you didn't grow your beard and you didn't dye it orange or red or whatever they're doing. Trying to do their best to imitate righteousness, the prophet of Allah. right? They will tell you because of the form and the fashion that you came in, that you're not as righteous. And they start to imagine that they're righteous because they can perform, you know, the ceremony better than you. So as an example, there are people that are running around, we'll say boasting because they can speak a certain language. They begin to imagine that they become more righteous because they can speak the language more eloquently than you. That is an example of someone that is involved in idol worship, someone that has mistaken the form and the fashion, the ceremony and the ritual for the real thing, right? For the real thing. Why do we have prophets? Why did they make that idol? It's because man needs an example. The reason why the ceremonies, the rituals, the forms and the fashions exist is because man needs an example to follow. That's why that book exists. That's why you go back to it and you try to determine, you know, what would David do? What would Jesus do? What would John do? Go back and you try to pull from their wisdom. You go back and identify with the Most High God, surely. But you acknowledge and you know, if it wasn't important, you wouldn't know. You would not speak of them if it wasn't important. But we know them for a reason, and we acknowledge them for a reason. And the forms and the fashions that they have created, such as Salat, the proper way to prostrate to Allah, that is just practice. That's your practice. Don't get caught up in you becoming somehow more righteous because you've mastered the practice. Surely practice makes perfect. But let us see how you fare against the foe. Right? Let us see what happens when, okay, now you're called into action. You know, we're not practicing 3-point shots and training no more. We're not doing the practicing right now. Now we're out here on the field. You have to be able to demonstrate, perform, right? You don't run from the serpent. You take everything that you have learned and you address the serpent. And you don't falter from the principle. That's the thing that's holding you up. The minute that you veer away from that is the minute that, like we already discussed, you fall for anything. Don't move, right? Be firm. And you'll conquer the giant like Goliath. It's as basic as that. It is as basic as that, in my opinion. Like I said, this is definitely not something that everybody's going to agree with. Whether they're Moors, whether they're Muslims, you know, black, you know, whatever. They're not necessarily going to agree with me, but this is, you know, a part of where I've gotten with my studies and my understanding of, you know, myself, the jinn, you know, the Most High, and even, you know, trying to deal with are the Abrahamic faiths African? You know, do I have to become something that I'm not to deal with the Abrahamic faiths? Are African traditions, you know, opposed or, you know, just diametrically different? I don't think so. I don't think so. Surely they're different. But, and again, various groups are at different levels of, you know, enlightenment, if you will, about the nature of creation. Right? Some a little more sophisticated than others. But again, it is of my opinion that African traditions, whether we're talking about ancestral worship, right? And we're going to tone it down to like a reverence, but reverence is synonymous with worship, right? They are synonyms. So we will tone it down, but ancestral worship, the idea of being directly related to the Most High God, even the ideas of these forms and these fashions. Like I said, whether you made a stone to represent the Most High God or whether you built a geometrically designed temple that represents the Most High God. However you want to deal with it, it's there. However, to deal with it, if we, like I said, if we can get into the occult aspects as to why, you know, people are building in the way that they build and do what it is that they do. A lot of it has the genius. There's a, you know, even to this creation. There's a genius to it, right? And I think if a person is balanced, if a person is willing to know their lower self like they know their higher self, I think it will all make sense. Go ahead, brother.
I definitely agree with you. I want to clear one thing up because I think you probably misheard me when I was talking about certain deities being exclusive to that certain community or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I was saying basically was, if I live in, say, I live in Chicago, right now, say I live in Cleveland, we got a little community called St. Clair. The deities we will worship in that community would be those of our own ancestors. So, only way another person could come within our community and worship our ancestors at his free will, sacrificial offers to our ancestors.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in African traditional systems, one can marry Ori, their head, or what you would call their Orisha, or their personal god. Just as if you look in Kemet, Best, the dwarf god of Horus, exclusively. After the Pharaoh, he was a protector of Horus exclusively. As Horus got older in birth, he was a protector. He was even said, I brought this out of my video, to shake, run around the birthing chambers of a baby, shaking his rattle, scaring off any evil spirits that might be lurking around the birthing chamber. Would make babies laugh. So it was said if a baby made a funny face or was laughing for no reason, it was because Best was making funny faces at the baby. Just like if today, when you got a little nephew or niece, or you know somebody and somebody had you got a partner or whatever, and they had a baby and they just got killed, like they got killed or they passed or whatever, and they left their baby behind. And the baby be riding in his car stroller, whatever the case may be, playing in his little playpen, and you will be sitting in the cut, and the baby will look like he's sitting there playing and talking with somebody. And what your mama and grandmama say? That baby see his daddy. Who that baby smiling at? It's the same concept. So when I was saying certain gods or certain ancestors was only exclusive to a particular people, a particular community in a particular region, that's what I meant in that context. Like, I could not go to, I'm from St. Clair, right? These are pantheons of ancestors. If I want to worship, say, the ancestors or the pantheon of the Lakeshore Boys, I would have to go make venerations and make supplements and offerings to their ancestors. Because their ancestors are not necessarily my ancestors. And when you're contacting your ancestors, you're contacting your direct ancestors through blood lineage. You see what I'm saying? This is how it's done.
I agree.
So
I agree, King. I agree.
Yes,
I agree. I agree that that's how Africans do it, and I agree that that's how Hebrews do it.
No. That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to get you to understand. See, even though when we deal with the prophet, now let me make this clear. Now the spirit of the prophets can be on somebody. Just like we say to somebody, oh brother, you got that spirit of David. Oh brother, you got that spirit of Saul. Or brother, you got that spirit of such and such. Well, when we say that in righteousness, when we talk about it in righteousness, we're not reverencing or we're not worshiping the idea behind the man, as in the Ori or the personality
what is
the person.
What is it?
We're worshiping, or we're worshiping the Creator, and we're reverencing and paying homage and living up to those laws and those commandments that the Creator put in that person as a spokesman.
Let me say this to you. Let me slow you down real fast.
So they were saying nothing of their own accord. You understand what I'm saying? So they were just vehicles. Just like, I'll give you a perfect example, Esau in the Bible, just like when we were dealing with Satan earlier. He's for a particular purpose and reason. Should we reference him? No, but I lean on Satan every word. If Satan say he gonna destroy, I'm gonna believe it. If he say he gonna kill, I'm gonna believe it. Why? Because Satan does nothing without the authority of the Most High.
That's right.
So I don't reverence the person. I don't worship the personality. I reverence the spirit behind the person. You get what I'm saying?
That's fine. I do. You know why? Because
that reverence never turned into bowing, and you get what I'm saying? It never turned into
listen. It's like this. There's like 72 names in the Torah. There are 99 names in the Quran, right, of the Most High. Now, here's the thing. It's not that we ever lose sight of the Most High, but those other names exist for a reason. When you said, oh, brother, you got the spirit of David on you, you know, it translates in your head, but out your mouth, you said something else. David is not the Most High. He is beloved, right? Directly high. No ifs, ands, or maybes about that part. If someone has the spirit of David, it's because you acknowledge he has a personality. Elijah has a personality. Elijah is unique among the prophets, is he not? And I don't mean to say special. I'm just saying personality-wise, how many prophets, you know, told the adversaries to bring their God out? Right? You got Moses. What do you say? Show it to me. Right? But it's a unique thing. This is something that if the spirit of Moses is on you, right? As the spirit of John the Baptist, it's just a different concept. And I think that we know this. We know, and we're registering in our subconscious, and we know, have understanding that we're talking about the force behind it all. But when you come out your mouth to an unlearned person and say they have the spirit of David on them, that's immediately what you think. Just like people talking about prophets in general. They accuse Muslims of being Mohammedans, right? Worshippers of Muhammad. And it's because they're not acknowledging what's behind it, right? It's going back to what we was just caught up in the form. Don't worship the form. You don't worship David, right? Y'all don't have to tell you that. You that, you know, don't bow down to David. I don't have to tell you that. But to someone who is unlearned and just listening and hearing the words coming out your mouth, that's when all of a sudden, and you know, I think we all know this, words kind of disguise the real thing anyway. You know, I could never really express to you what love is in words. Those words would do nothing more than just disguise it, because you would think that you got it in, you know, the genie in the lamp. I think I figured it out. I got it in the lamp. I know what love is, right? It's these, you know, 25 words, this little thesis of mine. Form. Don't get caught up in the fashion, the ritual, the ceremony. It's the real thing behind it. Again, it is, I believe, it goes against what you said when you're saying, no, we do not deal with it like that. And I think it just betrayed you when you said, oh, you know, you got the spirit, or you have the spirit of Saul. They are not the same spirit in the personality wise. And that's why you differentiated them. You wouldn't say the one who has the spirit of David also has the spirit of Saul. Or maybe you would just say, oh, he's a blend of the two. He's kind of like this and kind of like that. You see what I'm saying? We do the same thing with the law. There's 99 names. So it's not to say just because you call him the Almighty, right? It's not to say that that's it, right? Oh, I got the genie in the lamp. I'm brilliant. I figured it out. I have comprehended the incomprehensible, right? That's what we tend to want to do. However, we just have to make sure that we instruct not to get caught up in the idol worship. I think the best example is this. I'm gonna close with this for a second. Do y'all remember the Bruce Lee flick where he met the student kind of walking in the courtyard and he was like, yo, I want you to like kick at me. Right? And then he told the story about the moon. Are y'all familiar with that particular Bruce Lee flick? Can you brothers hear me?
The one when he slaps the kid in the head. He told him don't take an opponent.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I think that was. Yeah, I
That's
think
the
that
one.
was.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm still
Okay,
with you.
so I'm using that as an example to say this about trying to maybe even differentiate, we'll say African tradition from Hebraic tradition. I'm trying to separate them is like, falling victim to what the young bull fell victim to. So what happened? Kicking, and Bruce Lee starts telling him, oh, like, look at you, like you're in your head with it. You're like thinking to yourself, is my kick in proper form? Am I kicking with the proper amount of force and intention? And he's like, like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't a movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, live in the now. Don't try to put on, like, be in the moment. So then he tells him a story. He's like, man, like, because he was missing the point. He's like, it's like pointing to the moon. And as opposed to, looking in the direction in which Bruce Lee is pointing, the student is staring at his finger. And he's telling him, by you being focused on this little minuscule thing, right? You not actually even comprehending. You're caught up in the form. You're caught up in the fashion, the ceremony, the ritual. You miss the whole heavenly glory. You miss the whole thing. You miss what it was about. You know what I'm saying? You miss what it was about. So it's even the same with this jinn. If your comprehension is, oh, the devil, you just got caught up in the form and the fashion. As we've noticed in the scripture, God has employed the devil, at least on one occasion. So, I just want to say you're missing the whole thing when you get caught up with that. Oh, I'm going to be, this and they are that. And, we just going to forever be at war with each other. Like, at some point, you have to come into submission. You have to realize, as the brother said, the Most High created what? Good and evil. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is just, surely you have a responsibility and an obligation to maintain your allegiance to the Most High. Made. That's a farce. There's a beauty in death, right? It's maybe even an evil genius. Like, why are we born to die? Some people ask that question. It won't be long. You're gonna be dead, right? Correct. This is the idea, at least. But there's a brilliance in the way in which the life cycle works. Yes. To the way that life cycle works, the way that, if you will, karma works. There's a brilliance in it. It's like a good ass movie. You be watching a movie, you're like, man, that's a really, really bad guy, man. He's gonna get what's coming to him. And, somehow in the movie they make the plot work out just right. And you be feeling it. You be like, oh man, that's a home run. Loving it. I love how he got his. You know what I'm saying? Like we like, that's the way that the Lord made it. The Lord made it so like it's an ill movie. You know what I'm saying? Everybody getting what they deserve. I trust in that. I believe that that's the promise of the Most High. Everybody gets what they deserve. Whether it's a reward or a penalty, you're going to get yours. Believe that, right? Or you could act like, because you know the people, bro. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of going off on a tangent now, but I got to say this. Your life is in your hands, right? At the end of the day, you're going to be accountable for your actions. right? Not somebody else's, your own. And ain't nobody gonna be able to take that off of you, right? Ain't nobody else called to account for your actions. So at the end of the day, you know, walk wisely. Like I think, like we've been trying to get across this whole time. The jinn. It's not about vanquishing the jinn. It's about putting the jinn within the bounds, within the confines. And surely, like, you know, I think we can do wonderful things with this thing called life. I think we can accomplish much. I think we can build much, you know, in a righteous fashion, you know, not overstepping the boundaries. And I think all could be very, very sweet, you know, if we were willing to practice some degree of self-control. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate what everyone has to offer. I appreciate, you know, what people are good at, talents, their genius. I could appreciate that. You know what I'm saying? I have respect for you. You know, respect me. You feel me? You show some respect. And I think that, man, we can accomplish much. We just got to make sure that we keep ourselves within the binds, you know, keep that, you know, channel it in the right direction. And like I said, that thing that was once, you know, 100% wicked and we didn't want no parts of it, really demonstrated a lot in our people. But, you know, I just think the minute that we know our higher selves and our lower selves, things will be very different. Our understanding and outlook will be very different. Go ahead, brother. It's on you.
Okay, brother. No sweat. So what I think, what I took notice of that you were, I don't think was completely understanding what I was meaning in the context of what how I was saying it. I think you were mixing spirit with personality. That I mean that they are one and the same. Spirit from personality, I separated from personality. You get what I'm saying? That's why I mentioned personality of the person we pay reverence to. But when I say somebody had that spirit of David, that's not saying somebody had the personality of David. When I say somebody had that spirit of Solomon, that's not saying somebody had the personality of Solomon. When I said you have the spirit of Solomon, what I'm talking about is the laws, statutes, and commandments, zeal, a warrior, all in the confines of the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what I meant when I say spirit. See, if you're dealing with an African paradigm, you would equate spirit with personality. You would equate spirit with Ori. But that's not what I'm getting at. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Your name is Ishu, right? It's actually the messenger of Nyame. Have you ever seen the shrine of Ishu in Togo? In Benin? It looks like a heap of dog food. Simple. I brought it in a presentation. The actual shrine is a bunch of food, splattered food all over the ground in this little corner of a little brick room. And this is the shrine of Ishu. This is actually a god that they say manifests and will communicate with you. So, and the brother brought out, now I'm gonna read this scripture that the brother brought out here, and it's a good scripture, and I'm glad he brought it out. It says, it's Leviticus, the 20th chapter, verse 27. It say, a man, also a woman that had a familiar spirit, or that is a wizard, shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones. Their blood shall be upon them. Now, when you're dealing with familiar spirits, this is what you call voodoo, orisha. What you, the entity, or the if you want to call it the force of nature, you can. The Deity or the ideal or the force of nature issue is what we would call a familiar spirit. Issue has a temple that he actually goes in and eats. Now the food is not, it doesn't leave, him eating the food won't leave a physical trace. He actually gets this supplement in the spirit world. This is why they used to go in the scriptures. You can look, they would put food in there and then go see if the God ate it, come back if the food's still there. Then the priest got greedy and ate the food themselves. You see what I'm saying? But when we talk about the spirit, when I talk about spirit, I'm dealing with the universal force that governs all things. You probably mean when you say spirit, or from what I've studied, when in African spiritual systems, when they say spirit, they actually mean a person that either died or hasn't been born, which is called a Simbi. So you have twice born spirits. These are Simbis. And then you have Lords of the Rishas, people who've died and are carried on and are venerated or elevated. There's not one prophet in the scriptures who we elevated as a god after he died. There's not one prophet in the scriptures who we revered as, shall you say, a guiding force in our life. See, what we have to do is separate the man from the message sometimes. And we confuse the message which coming from the man. So you would say by default, we should be reverencing and worshiping the man. A lot of people might say that. But what we do is we pay homage and we bear witness to the spirit within that man. And that spirit within that man is the spirit that created everything we see in our existence. And that's the spirit that gives him the gift of prophecy. That's the spirit that gives him the gift of righteousness. That's the spirit we tap into. It's not an individual spirit. Beat on a drum, do a dance, and then let it enter my body. See, I don't know whether you notice or not, but issue could take possession of the body of a believer. How does he do this? There's certain calling powders. There's certain scarves, certain colors worn to attract these certain spirits. Certain drums, certain beats of the drum, certain drum patterns attract these spirits. Certain foods attract these spirits. And these spirits descend, just like Thoth did on the solar bark when he rode across the heavens, and Isis cried out for Horus, who was bitten by a scorpion. The solar bark stopped. She cried out to Thoth. He came down, healed him, right, and went back up. Now, when you deal with certain spirits in African traditional systems, you actually have to coax these spirits in. These same spirits that you're saying is the same in Africa, in the Bible, are the same spirits Christ was fighting against in the New Testament. These are the same spirits that the Most High said these witches are dealing with. Go slaughter them all. Don't leave one witch left in the city. But what do old Saul do? Saul go to the witch and tries to conjure up who? Samuel. This is the same thing they're doing in the African spiritual system, conjuring up these spirits of these ancestors. But Samuel showed up for real. And what the witch do? She was so unprepared for it, she stepped back and was scared her damn self. Because she didn't understand, whoa, wait a minute. And Saul said, Samuel said, listen, bro, you coming with me. So these are the familiar spirits, just like this. Your name, Issue. Issue is an actual physical person that was venerated, who lived once upon a time, just like Obatala, Odulamare. These are personages who lived at one point in time on earth, but then were venerated, just like Osiris, just like Horus. They lived, but then after death were venerated to some type of deity. There's not one instance in the scriptures where we deify any prophet, where we elevate them to any type of deity.
Stop right there.
Matter of fact,
Stop right there.
The prophet.
Ready?
art.
Ready?
Go ahead, King. Absolutely.
Two things I'm gonna say. I'm gonna try to say them real quick. So I got L on the back of my name to, as part of my self-identification. That L is a sound that represents the Most High. Again, it's my name, right? So I'm claiming lineage. And the SU part, it's less related to the personage of a human being, and more of a different kind of being. And I think that you'll maybe see the connection that I'm about to make.
Okay.
Is a good example. The angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel it has been stated that he walked on the land before, right? On the earth. That he interacted with human beings before, right? On the earth. Or no?
Okay, I'm with you.
What kind of being is Gabriel? I know that they are called angels, but I mean like his substance. Is he a spirit?
No.
Or something else?
Not at all.
Brother, go ahead. That's why I'm relating Eshu more to Gabriel with regards to the type of being.
I know.
As opposed to a human being.
Right, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, even though there is an association with like a human life, right? Like a reality of being something like a human being, interacting with human beings, kind of playing out the role of a human being to some extent for however long, right? But again, not a prophet, not associated with human beings like that.
Right.
Not associated with human beings like that. So Eshu, although made, and again, it's very similar, has a life associated, a human existence associated, right? He is not a human being like that, right? Like there is a life associated. There is a human existence associated. But that being is something other. It's like Jesus. There's a human existence associated. Being is something else. You follow where I'm coming from?
Absolutely. I follow where you're coming from. But see, let me build on some what you see when you deal with a lot of these, like you made the compare between Michael and Issue. As I was telling you, it's no comparison.
Gabriel. You said there was another reason is messenger thing, but go ahead, brother.
Right. Let me tell you why it's no comparison. Because like I just said, Issue is an actual spirit of a person who lived before and passed on. Now became the messenger for the one true God. Gabriel is not a spirit, was never on earth. And he is actual messenger of the Most High. You see what I'm saying? And when we come to Issue, you have to give reverence, or you have to give food offerings to Issue, so he can deliver your message or whatever your need is to the Most High God. You get what I'm saying? You don't have to do that with Gabriel. We don't have to give him nothing. Gabriel don't ask for nothing. The Most High don't require us to give him nothing. But Issue is a different story. Now you see the differences? You see what I'm saying?
Kind of, because then there's the similarity, like as opposed to
similarity.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna say it specifically. So we know that there is a personage associated with the Mashiach. The Mashiach represents something greater, right? Like you said, the law. The law doesn't have a birth date, and it doesn't have an end date. There's a birth date associated with Jesus. There's a death date associated per se with Jesus. Right.
With the physical man.
Absolutely. But what he represents is something that is ever living. Right. So there's this is what's similar. It's to say that although there's a Eshu personage, right? A spirit that's associated with a person that lived. What he represents, what that being represented was something much larger. That's all I'm trying to say right now. I'm not trying to say it is Gabriel. I'm not trying to say Eshu is the Mashiach. What I'm saying is that the way in which you understand Gabriel, the way in which you understand the Mashiach, not as just a personage, the Mashiach. The personage has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Mm-hmm. Right? Now, what the Mashiach that's right. doesn't have a beginning, a middle, or an end. It can't. It's with the Most High.
No, let me say something right here. The Mashiach, who we know as Christ, doesn't have a beginning nor end, but the physical has a beginning or end. What's tangible has a beginning and end, because everything decays in the physical state. We know that everything decays in the physical state, but the principle that Christ represented, or that principle, or that he was, that spirit. And when I say that spirit, I don't mean like issue, because issue is a singular. It's not a plural, but you do have certain divinities or certain orishas or lords with counterparts. You know what I'm saying? Just like when we look at Allah and Allot, counterparts, right? When you deal with each saint like Gabriel, there's no counterpart. So we can say they're only, what they do have in common is being messengers, delivering message, right? But when you have a counterpart here with issue, and both of those need to be fed in order for you to get a request through, and then you look at Gabriel, there's no counterpart and there's no need to feed him, and you don't go to Gabriel for your requests to you without you even knowing it. And we don't harness up Gabriel. So and then when we talk about Christ, right, and he was always there in the beginning. If you go into the Hebrew, you can see him there. In the beginning, Christ was always there, creating the universe. And we see this in the scriptures, but when it deals with he was not always there. He was not part of the creative force of the universe. And he was made after everything was settled, along with other aspects of the creation, or expressions of the creator, or Lord vibration. He was created. Christ has always been there. Now, when you deal with these certain images, like you were saying, a bigger idea than what seems on the surface. You get what I'm saying? And I know, yeah, I see.
They didn't send themselves. They didn't send themselves, and they come bearing a message that no matter what the people that are receiving the message do with it, you know what I'm saying? And they really, you know, it's what it is. Go ahead, brother.
Now, the thing is, be invoked. Issue has to be invoked. Odulamare, Obatala, Ogun, Oshun has to be invoked. They have to be invoked. In the Hebraic thought, we don't invoke no, we invoke the spirit. You understand what I'm saying? That's a definite article. The spirit. Haruach. We invoke the spirit. The spirit, the spirit. So when you deal with African centered, like when we say spirit in the Hebraic thought, another African centered paradigm will identify it with an individual spirit that might be called a netter or a risha. But this is the spirit that controls the universe. See, Ogun is a god of iron. It can be exclusive to a particular region, a particular people. And outside of that, no one gets to worship him. You see what I'm saying? You have to be within this community to understand these gods. You marry these gods. You carry on relationship with these gods. everything you do is at the behest of these gods. In the Hebraic thought, it's the complete opposite. The only thing that I really see paralleling 100% is the acknowledgement of the creator who created everything. It created lesser divinities or lesser deities. In African thought, those deities were created to assist us. This is why you see Roman Catholic worship saints. Worship. When the Africans came over here, they had to kneel before Catholic saints and invoke their gods. A Catholic saint like Michael or Gabriel or whatever, and they were worshipped in the images, but they were calling on the names of their gods. You see what I'm saying? So we don't invoke any spirits. I mean, a person lived, died, or a person have not been born yet and is already existing within the dimensions, or what they will call now is the spheres of heaven before you get to the seventh. We understand that the personage of our ancestors, David, Joshua, all the great ancestors, Samson, all these great ancestors. But you will never hear a Hebrew Israelite say, I'm going to call upon the spirit of David, the spirit of this. We call upon the Most High, which was the spirit, which his spirit was in those people. So we don't go aspect of the man, because to us, they were our ancestors. They were man. They were physical beings that just carried out a message of the Most High. We don't even do that with Christ. In African spiritual systems, they dance, they beat, they do certain things to invoke these spirits. We don't do it. Don't do it, because once we open up that door, anything could come in. How to control it is you have Simon Magnus, right? The person who started up the Gnostic stuff, right? In the Gospels, he actually tries to buy the power of the disciples. He himself was a great magician. He was a priest. He knew how to thwart rain, and he knew how to read people's thoughts and things of this nature. So he would bewitch them for a long time. He saw the true power of the creator of the universe and then tried to buy it. You get what I'm saying? Because he knew he was only dealing with lesser divinities. He wasn't dealing with the creator that the Israelites was dealing with. Idiots. And when you're dealing with the enemy, like look at Nyame, look at what they say about Nyame. He's too far off to be petitioned. So they do not even bother him with the affairs of daily affairs. They call on other gods, Obatala, Orisha. You know that Obatala is inside in a shrine. Obatala has a shrine in Benin, locked inside of a room of food. He likes snails. Obatala loves snails. So snails, certain figs, these are left at the doorpost for Obatala. So every time he enters and leaves, he can eat. When you would deal with Merkabas in ancient Kemet, where you would have, or what I would like to call ka doors. They look like doors, false doors. And what they would do, they would leave offerings in these temples in front of the false doors, so the spirit can traverse back and forth through the spiritual world and the physical world to take part in these food offerings. And if you did not offer these food offerings daily, and every time you approach the temple, approach the shrine, and ask the intermediate gods for something, you weren't gonna get nothing. Now you can line that up with Hebraic thought a little bit. But one thing for sure, two things for certain, 100%, because we're dealing with the creator and they're dealing with creation.
That's right.
Real simple mathematics.
I mean, again, I think, yeah, I do. I think,
And again, I think one.
sure we
Let you
don't,
finish.
the only thing we got to make sure we don't. Okay, go ahead.
I think you were mixing up personage or the personality of the person with the spirit of them. The spirit of the person is not necessarily their personality. In African African spiritual systems, y'all will call that the Ori, the head. They say your Ori is the most powerful spirit that's with you. Your Ori. So this is the personage or the personality around a character that's worshipped in African spiritual systems. We don't do that with none of the prophets. None of them. Go ahead.
Mm-hmm. I think that, like I said, man, there's this situation of forms and fashions. Beginning to imagine that you can determine a person's merit action. You feel me? Surely the form and the fashion in which you approach the Most High God is very different than their form and fashion in which they approach. Right? As you pointed out, a lot of these people have intercessors, even by, as you stated, right? So, in my opinion, what's really going on is how are people approaching the Most High and trying to say, it's like, again, staring at the finger, right? When you observe a person's form, like Muslims pray a very unique way, and we're talking about Sunni, Shia, etc. They have a very unique prayer, right? In comparison to others. You dig what I'm saying? I think we can focus on the difference in which they pray and all other faiths, including the other Abrahamic faiths, right?
Uh-huh.
We can focus on the finger and say, yo, how is it that y'all are praying different ways? Like, that's a means. That thing that y'all are doing called prayer is a vehicle. It zooms you to your God, right? You can get to your God right now through prayer, right? Direct access, no middleman. You wonder, you could focus like, yo, how is it that y'all are both getting to the same place? The form in which you are doing it in is different.
That's right.
Right? And I think that is where the problems and the debates come from. In fact, there is no difference. There is no issue about, because certain prophets pray different, right? Even through the Bible, you'll find out that they would come in prayer a slightly different. Like they say that when the Mashiach, to Lord's Prayer per se.
I understand what you're saying.
It was one of the most beautiful forms that people had ever seen, and it was, some of it was a bit unique. You know what I'm saying? There are different ones that came and prayed in different facts. All I'm saying is that we shouldn't get caught up on the finger. We should actually observe the greater, right? Like what is actually going on? Like what are both of y'all attempting to do? We made the point. You said, okay, one is dealing with the many, the other is dealing with the one, or one is dealing with the source and the other is dealing with creation. But as you've noticed, they're both trying to do this thing like come forward, you know what I'm saying, in acknowledgement of something greater than themselves. Right now, there's a similarity between the two. The form is different. It is obviously different. A Christian praying and a Muslim praying. It's obviously different. You see where I'm coming from? It's obvious that one is dealing with the source and one is dealing with, aspects, expressions, conduits, middlemen, whatever you want to call it. They're acknowledging that. They're still knowing that there's something beyond them. Parties have acknowledged that.
That's right. That's right. But they could be acknowledging demons, though. You ever think about that?
I do. And I think that both parties are subject to the same demons. You know what? That's probably the most nutty part about it. Right. Even though their forms are different, they still catch the same hells. Right? They still catch the same kind of, validation from the Most High God.
I think you hearing me say this. This is what I think you hearing me saying based on you responding to how we looking at the way in which they pray as opposed to what their objective is when they're praying.
Mm-hmm.
I think you looked at it wrong how I was saying it. I don't have a problem with how they pray. Just like I don't have a problem with a Muslim praying 5 times a day. Like, I would be silly to have a problem with that. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Exactly. I'm in total agreement.
Right. It's not how they pray, but it's about who they pray to and what they have in mind when they're praying. That's all I'm saying. See,
and here,
how you pray has no.
And here's the part, brother. Hold
on who you're praying to or what you're praying to. So I can pray standing upside down like a bat hanging in a cave. As long as I'm acknowledging that creator, I'm praying different than a Muslim pray. I'm praying different than a Christian pray, but I'm acknowledging the creator. I'm hanging upside down like a bat praying. So it's not about how a person prays, it's what they're praying to. What are you reverencing as your God?
With it.
What are you reverencing as
with it.
Force that's beyond?
And you know what's the wildest? Now we'll never know.
200 years before is what I'm saying.
I'm with you. The wildest part is you and I, man, will never know. And what I'm really saying is that man doesn't know what's in another man's heart, another man's mind. Certainty that he knows those things. That's with Allah and Allah alone. So that's when you really have to ease back. Once you notice, oh shit, there's differences here. First thing. Then the second thing is humble yourself. What's in their hearts, in their minds, the intention. Maybe their language is not good. Maybe they don't know how to express, the Most High God to you in a way that you agree with. Very, very careful about what do you believe in, what is in the intention behind it, what's in your heart. These things only with God. A person that I see attempting to discipline themselves, I consider a respectable person. Anybody that would subject themselves to some form of discipline, whether it's secular or religious, for that human being, because they are attempting to harness that animal. You know what I'm saying? To harness that lower self. I respect that person. A person who is, like I said, just going to and fro in the land, idle wild, right? Got nothing to do. This is the one who is, subject to the devil, who is the little minion of the devil and doesn't know. When we talk about a person invoking, listen, that's a form and a fashion to invoke a devil, a demon. You can invoke a demon in another way. Let's try some Western ways of invoking demons. Why don't you smoke some crack? I bet you I'll see a demon. I bet you. See that we have a different form and a fashion in which we invoke demons and devils. You feel me? Don't get caught up in the form and the fashion. We are somehow subject to the same hells. Go ahead.
D-Mill, I know some crackheads that hit that hooter and be chilling like a motherfucker though, bro. They don't want to fuck with nobody. They want to be by themselves. And they be
being a sloth is wicked. Listen, being a sloth is wicked. If the shit make you lazy, that's still one of the evils.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm not saying to make them lazy and just lay out, I don't want to do nothing. Cracking don't make nobody lazy. You can believe that.
I'm sure.
But what I'm saying is, and be chilling. Like, they don't, like, I know people who get drunk as shit. You could never tell they drunk unless you've known them for years and could look at their eyes and their expressions and you used to it. I know fiends who smoke crack, work jobs. You never know they get high. They the same motherfucker when they hit the hooter. After they hit the hooter, they the same motherfucker before that. So, about demon, I'm talking about in a sense of this, King. Ramu Kofi, look up Ramu Kofi. He is an Akan priest in Voodoo and Ifa. He talks about how the netter or the orisha or the bosom shows up literally in physical form of the ugliest creatures you will want to see. And they would specifically tell you, I need somebody to kill. I'm gonna kill. These are the spirits that I'm talking about is being harnessed up when you're beating a drum, or when you're invoking, or when you're slapping on calling powder, or when you're tying certain color scarves around you, and these and that nature. Like when you look at Kemet, you have Osiris green, such and such blue. These were colors that represented these deities, just like now they use colors to represent deities. It's the same thing. So when we look at spirit, I'm talking spirit in a sense of the universe. When I think when I say spirit, you looking at spirit in a sense of, say, a person's memory, a person's way, they persona, they personage. That's what I'm hearing. That I'm saying, King. So, but when I'm saying spirit, I'm not talking about nothing that can come back and pop up on you and tell you it's gonna kill you. You see what I'm saying? Now, even when the angels were presenting themselves, they did not come in spirit. Walk, and Abraham fed those 3 angels. Them, they were flesh and blood. You understand? When the homosexuals was beating down the doors of Lot's house trying to get in there, they said, we want to screw those men, not those spirits y'all got in there. We want to screw them man. Like us. You couldn't tell the difference who they were. That's why as soon as they appeared to him, he told his wife Sarah, he told him, come stay. Let me make you a morsel. And he told his wife to go get the fattest what's the name you could find? I forget the animal name. Get what you could find. At that point, that's when they told talk with us. See, we see Abraham walking with them, and he hear her while she laughing, and heard all this. These were physical beings. When I'm saying spirit king, see, that's why I was telling you, like, when you deal with Gabriel, no, he's not like Issue, the actual dead person. Gabriel was never a physical living person on the earth. Gabriel is a power of the Most High, just manifested for a reason, a message. Nobody in the scriptures beat a drum, left out food to invoke Gabriel, but they do to invoke Issue. You get what I'm saying, King?
You're saying, I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying with, you know, like I said, pointing out what is an obvious difference. What I think is missing are the similarities.
Oh yeah, I gave the similarities.
Right.
One guy.
So no, I'm not just saying that, oh, you know, when you say spirit, you're talking about personality. I only had made that reference because I was dealing with what you were talking about at the time. The idea of, oh, that you have, you know, the spirit of Saul or the spirit of David. That was when I dealt with the individual spirit or personality, which I think is better. If you're talking about David, Saul, you're talking personality.
Right there. No. I was talking about spirit. See, the personality.
No. I mean the name. When you utter the name, when you utter the name Saul, there is a personality associated with that. And let me explain what I mean. Listen, the name Saul is not in the law per se. Like that, he's not a part of he's not a part of, like, the name itself isn't something that you need to invoke. Like this is what I'm getting at. I'm saying, and when you mention the name, I was just deceptive to a newcomer, a neo don't know that spirit is not personality like that. We agree.
That's right.
It's not personality like that. If you're a neophyte, you might confuse it. That's what I was actually saying. I wasn't saying that you made that mistake, though. I wasn't saying you was making that mistake. You feel me?
Right, right. And that's why I was hearing what you were saying. You was describing a personality, actual spirit of
Correct.
high. You get what I'm saying? And I was telling you, you was looking at
Correct.
it. You was looking at it. You was looking at it through the lens of Obatala, or looking at it through the lens of a Chakatu. You get what I'm saying? You can't look at it like that, because you're gonna fall back into your own paradigm of understanding a different culture's paradigm. That just
Well,
like
really, yeah, really, it goes to the jinn concept. You know what I'm saying? It goes back to the jinn concept. It goes back to the ego concept.
Right.
You're never supposed to, you know, build up the ego, build up that's not what's supposed to be going on right now. The personality worship, that's not what's supposed to be going on. You feel me?
Right.
Have that issue on the planet Earth. And the reason I think we have that issue on the planet Earth is because people are obsessed with form and fashion. You know, that's why I think people jump into Hinduism, jump into Buddhism, jump into the Hebrew Israelite camps, right? Jump into the Moorish camps. They like the form and the fashion.
Or maybe
they like the way that they approach the Lord.
Because
you see what I'm saying?
Maybe it's because they bear witness, and this is in their DNA. This is who they are, back to their original self. Just like the Most High walked through garden and said, Adam, where you at? You failed, my brother. Get back up here with me. We trying to get back up there with the Most High. You get what I'm saying? So it's in our DNA. You know what I'm saying? People who subscribing to this truth, the Most High said, my sheep, Christ said, my sheep should hear my voice. You get what I'm saying? So we are the ones, this is in our DNA. So if my ancestor called, which was Christ, we have a father who demands our loyalty. That has done for us. Look what he's taken us through. I got to get with that. Now, when it says worship the Most High in spirit and in truth, it's not saying in the spirit of nothing. Spirit of truth. What truth? What spirit? That was there in the beginning, that which was there in the beginning before the physical world was in existence. That's the spirit we worship in truth, before the physical world was in existence. Everything, when you deal with African spiritual systems, worship intermediates who was created after the world was in existence. You get what I'm saying? So unless you have what you would call a born spirit, and this is those spirits where people say, I hear growl, it sounds like a demon, something was growling at me. These are spiritual beings that's resonating on this low vibration that's coming to bust your ass. All they want is blood. Like if you have, I'm for sure you know what a Chakatu is. A Chakatu is what you would call a high priest, right? And these high priests have powers that they get from dark spirits. Other priests who claim that they deal with clean spirits. This is called white magic. And the dark spirits are called black. This is the practice called black magic. This is what we westernize it, you know, quote unquote black magic, quote unquote white magic. What it's called is, it's called invoking, it's called science. It's called root working. Just like as I was telling you about the Momotia. The Momotia are dwarfish beings with yellowish skin, with their feet turned backwards. They live in the forest. When kids are getting initiated into being a high priestess, you don't get to choose whether you want to be a high priest or not. The God or the spirit chooses you. For instance, in Benin, where a young boy to be a priest. He had a brother. Now he didn't want to take the priesthood, but the spirit demanded that he be the priest. He refused. The spirit killed him. Now this is the individual spirit. Why do you think we got goddess God? All right. Why do you think in this part of the land we got a goddess of the water over here? Then you go up 30 kilometers, 70 kilometers, you got a goddess of the water. But there are two different goddesses. And the person from this community cannot worship the goddess of that community unless that is their ancestor by blood. Not their ancestor by blood, they can only worship on one condition, that they marry that deity, or that they make supplements to that deity and recognize that deity as the power that governs their life and their community and their trade. You see what I'm saying? See, it's concept is there of the belief in the Most High and belief in the God, but they don't call them. So I saw this brother on Kalam talking about, he talked to his ancestors, and the Muslim brother asked him, how you know they're your ancestors? You ever seen it before? So when a spirit pops up talking about you my ancestor, nigga, I don't know you. Demon be gone. That's how I'm looking at it. Like, you ain't, the Most High ain't send you. You get what I'm saying? The Most High say, test the spirit. See if it's a god or the devil. And all these spirits. Anytime, brother, what I'm telling you is issue right now. Issue is let's get on some other ones, some other like ones. But all these gods have shrines built for them. These gods have offering given to them. These gods have idols in their name. Representative of them, idols, statues that don't move. And if you know the Holy Bible, if you know the Hebraic traditions, we don't deal with idols. Wood and stone, setting them up, decking them all out, putting food all under them, coming to them, praying, asking for. We don't deal with that. We deal with the Most High God. You see what I'm saying? This is what I've been saying. I've been saying this for a long time. A lot of our brothers and sisters are dealing with these African traditional systems, naming themselves after the names of certain pantheons, naming themselves after names of certain local village ancestors. Understand that reality of it. Most people think they're forces of nature. I've heard that so many times. But according to what I've shown in the sources, in my African sources, they are to inhabit, they inhabit these forces of nature. They're not the forces of nature themselves. They use these forces of nature for temporary dwelling places. Temporary places. They don't reside in these places forever. And then when that place is destroyed, that spirit leaves, and now that spirit needs a home. Why do you think certain spirits need home? Why do you think the bathhouses they used to leave by the tombstones? Because the spirit was wrong, and the spirit needed somewhere to drink water. Now, I brought out in Budge, when you do in Budge work, how he talks about in ancient Kemet, how they believed in ghosts. If the spirit of the ghost wasn't fed and gave water regularly, then it will leave outside and wander outside the tomb to look for any dirty water to drink or look for any food to eat. And in order to keep the spirit inside the tomb, they would have to come in there and out there. When you talk about the Ankh, actually spirit world to the physical world and could go visit his neighbors, visit his old family. And you hear in African spirituality or African thought, they say these so we gonna worship the aspects. Brother, everything come from the Most High. I'm not about to worship everything. Even that demon that popped up and told Ramu Kofi he want to kill. I'm not about to worship that thing, but that thing comes from the Most High. Thing out here for a reason. Why? So we can get back to him. You get what I'm saying? You got to go through something to get to something. It's about a test. So, like brothers and sisters who feel like they want to erect a shrine with beastly images of those in the heaven or under the sea or on earth, and then want to bow before them and ask for anything, you in the wrong. And then supplement this, for people to supplement these concepts for what you would quote unquote concepts will be the best thing for people to do. You get what I'm saying? For the simple fact that if I'm a pharmaceutical dealer, if I'm a tire dealer, if I'm a car dealer, if I sell women for a living, do for a living, right? If I'm in a business of commerce, I'm gonna want to see the head man. I'm not gonna want to give my money to no middleman. I want to see the boss. And this is the difference. We see the boss. Middleman. That's a difference.
I mean, as long as listen, as long as that's right. Me, I think it's more about the similarities because the unity. Say, you know, although we can always go to the Most High God, and I believe, you know, I believe that we have the same comprehension, understanding as far as our relation to the Creator. I want to say though is that as a human being, we do find ourselves subject to the book. We need the book, right? Although we can go directly to the Most High through prayer, the book is invaluable, right? That means it's extremely valuable, right? And we do go to that, and we do see guidance in that. We do attempt to use that as a protocol for the right actions. You feel me? And with that being said, because we know that a book and words, as far as inside of a book, are not the equivalent of the Most High, we do have something like a intercessor, something like an intermediary. It is more subtle than what they are doing, but nonetheless, it is there. This protocol, the scriptures.
Let me ask you just real quick. For you,
yes, sir.
Would that intermediate be some a deity like Ishu, like your name? Would that be an intermediate for you?
In a sense, it could be considered yes. In a sense, it could be considered no.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the concept. It's the concept of the word becoming flesh. See, it said the word, and then it says it's becoming the flesh. So it starts out subtle. It starts out subtle.
1 second. Now the word. Are you comparing the word to issue? Do you know what the word is? Let me because you might not. You might be under. I don't know. Sound like you comparing the word to issue.
No, it's just to say that there's a subtle meaning, and then there's a more obvious meaning. That's what I'm gonna say. I just like sum it up with that. Like as far as what is the reason for the name?
No, I
with the
name. I was just saying whether you look at you said yes and no as issue being an intermediate for you. You said yes and no. And then you went on to explain it's just like the concept the word came in the flesh. And I want to know, what do you mean? You know what I'm saying? Elaborate on that for me.
Yeah. So, you know, if I'm just like, again, describing what Eshu is in reference to in my mind, because this is first and foremost a word. And the word has meaning, you know, it's kind of loaded. Like you said, it has a mythos attached to it. It has a people attached to it. So I have many things in mind. And when we say, is it an intercessor? It's of the sort to where it's like a reference point. It's like, be mindful of this, right? It's almost like a mental thing, like something that I'm maintaining upstairs. Like, I don't know, like my social security number or something. It's something that allows for me to remember certain things. Right. And like I said, the things that I remember, the way in which they play an intercessor is like, it kind of informs me, like, keep these things in mind as you move forward. You know what I'm saying? It's the same way I use the book, the scripture in general. I keep certain things in mind before I make the move. So it's informing me of the move to make. Right. It is informing me of the move to make. So it's like the word, right? It's a little subtle. It needs a body. When I kind of, you know, I have my own energy, I have my own desires or what have you. When I get the impulse to move, it's like, boom, it runs through a filter. It runs through an intercessor. You see what I'm saying? This is what I meant by governing that passion, governing that spirit, governing, you know what I'm saying, that jinn.
That's exactly what you're saying. Now, when you said the word, this is why I said, wait a minute now, because when you say issue being an intermediate or intercessor for you, it's just like or similar to the concept of God or the word in the flesh. With that, I'm gonna tell you why. Because Enshu was not the word in the flesh. Enshu was an actual physical person that lived, died, and was venerated to messenger. The word is the actual laws that created the universe.
And as a messenger, what is his description? I understand his description as a person. Now, when they describe Eshu and his presence, if you will, quote unquote, in the heavens and amongst the other deities, what is his role and how does he behave and what are his qualities?
Oh yeah, well he intercedes. He take the message practitioner or the people or the party in concern. He takes them directly to Nayami or to Odulamare, excuse me. He takes them right there. But the thing about it is, got him with some type of pay, you have to supplement him. If you don't supplement him, he won't get your matches out. So for people to say they dealing with Oshun and Ogun, but they not leaving those sacrifices, they not invoking him to have personal. And in fact, a priest has to invoke him. A high priest has to invoke Enshu on the behalf of the people. So then the high priest will make the offering. You will bring it. The high priest will take it into the temple or the shrine, and he will leave it there for Oshun. And then they will go through the cowrie shells. And through the cowrie shells, they would see what the spirit wanted, whether it was a go or whether it was a no. This is how they would get their reading. This is how they would get answers and receive answers some of the time. This is just one way of getting and receiving answers from the spirit world, through the tossing of the cowrie shells. This is how they choose who their successor is going to be. This is how they settle disputes among the community. This is what they do when somebody comes to them and say they've been hexed with a bad spirit. Then they consult more powerful spirits to go in and attack that lesser spirit, that less powerful spirit, and remove it. And in return, you have to reward that spirit for that. You get what I'm saying? Now, when you deal with whether it's issue or any of them, supplement them. Can you think of a saint or a prophet in the Bible who had to be supplemented after death to intercede of the people? I'll give you answers. Moses, Abraham, when they died, did the Israelites go put food at their grave and ask them to ask the Father to intercede? Send my message to the Father. Can you find any prophet in the scriptures? And you know the scriptures, and your answer is no. So I know you know the scriptures, and you know we can't find any prophet that done that. So when we look at or angel, you won't even find an angel that done that. So in the prophet's positions and the angel positions, much different than those of, say, issue, though their function or they probably hold the same office as messenger, right? But way in which the practitioner who invokes them goes about it is completely, and it is done in a docile state of mind on a mundane level. It's the what you call it, it's the instant gratification process thing, where I don't want to wait for Nayami to give it to me, so I'm about to call a lesser spirits down here and give it to me. That's all it is. You get what I'm saying? So every which way their invoked spirits are invoked, completely opposite of the Hebrew paradigm. And that's all I was saying. And when it comes to personality, we love the personality of Solomon. We loved it when he was in righteousness. Why did we love his personality when he was in righteousness? Because we bear witness to the spirit of the Most High working in him. And I'm not talking about just some. I remember I heard you earlier mention the Holy Ghost. That's not even Hebrew thought. Spirit of goodness, because the Holy Ghost is the spirit of goodness, the wisdom of the Most High. This is not a spirit that jumping on people in the church from body to body. That's some shit like that Denzel Washington movie Fallen. That's what Orishas do. That's what netters do. They jump from body to body, inhabiting one body. That person get killed, they jump and looking for another body. You get what I'm saying? This statue get destroyed, they looking for another statue to inhabit, erecting things, and then harnessing their power in the statue, and then leaving offers at the statue because they believe the spirit is dwelling inside the statue. In Hebraic thought, King, we don't do it. And we did, not at a time. But when we came into our righteousness and we understood the true laws of the Most High, that was over. You get what I'm saying? So here we're dealing with the power, the word that came in the flesh is incomparable with master deity or a created force. A created force on a much lower vibrational scale. So there's not even compared. That's like me comparing Tupac with Young Thug. It don't make sense to compare an Orisha. It just don't make sense. Why don't it make sense to us in the Hebraic thought? It don't. Because we understand that Christ was the word wrapped up in material flesh. Or wrapped up in material flesh. So we can have, like you said earlier, a reference. Christ was the reference point. He said, look at me. When you see me, you see the Father. I am my Father, all one. People don't understand what he was saying. That what we have is that beginning wrapped up in the flesh and telling you, you can't go back to the master unless you go through me, which is the beginning and the end. And the only way you can get to the master if you go through me and pray to me. No. But the Orishas or the Abosum demand that you pray to them. Issue demand that you pray directly to him. Give reverence directly to him. Demand that you give offerings directly to him. Demand that you pour libations directly to him. And then once he is appeased and is full and is filled, your libations is grateful, then he go up to the Most High and then say, hey, you know, such and such down there said he want this, should I give him to him? Then issue gonna come back down like give up. So then you gonna think he ignoring you or it didn't work. So then you gonna go grab you a bull. You gonna sacrifice that, and issue gonna come. Issue gonna go up there and he just sacrificed the bull, unblemished. What can I give him? Can I give him what he asked for? No. You gonna go back down again. Issue ain't gonna get you. Gonna like, dang, what's working? We still got famine. We still got this. We still starving. Now let me sacrifice one of these young boys over here, like they doing right now in Nigeria, cutting little dudes' heads off, hacking them all in the heads, sacrificing them to the gods. Look at the humble Kushu. They big on this, sacrificing young black boys. They're big on it because if they're facing a drought, they would get an unblemished black bull. If the drought continued, they would get a black boy. If that didn't work, they would kill a priest or the rainmaker himself and install another one. But they're not understanding that they're dealing with the creation and not the creator. So their prayers never get answered. And they keep having to killing and making sacrifice after sacrifice to a creator that don't even care about it. One is the spirits like Ishu, Ogun, Oshun. They're tricking these people. I can get you this. I got favor with God. I can get you this. I'm the goddess of this sea. You want a good catch? You better give me some offerings. I'm a goddess of this profession, carpentry. You want to make some money in that? You better make your offerings. That's not how Hebraic thought is. It's a complete opposite. So the only thing the main thing that we have to focus on when we're dealing with the similarities is the worship or the acknowledgement of the one true God. Remember, they don't even worship the one true God. They acknowledge that he exists, but they worship the lesser deities because the one true God is too far off to be petitioned, and was done with man, was fed up with man's bull crap, so he left the man devices to the lower beings, which in Kemet they call Nerus. So, you know, I wouldn't compare the word of God, which was everything in the universe, to a dead person who greedy and just wants some food and telling you, look, my nigga, I'll get you some of that ham and cheese you eating over there. Like, no, Christ ain't coming back asking for no food, man. I'm talking about for you to get the creator. It just ain't happening like that. Nor do angels. I heard people compare angels with the you can't do it. You get what I'm saying? People can't do that because angels don't demand nothing. You can't summon up an angel. You can't beat a drum and smack calling powder on your face and tie blue rags around your neck and dance and beat drums and think this angel gonna come forth. That ain't how it works. So it can never be compared with that. Angel come when you least suspect it. Angel come when the Most High want to send you a message, and they don't come like no ghosts. Got 4 faces and look like all type of weird creatures. No, they come looking like us. Real simple. And I appreciate your time, King. I appreciate you.
No doubt, no doubt. I think we killed it, man. Everybody else, man, the panel, man, y'all been like patiently just sitting there, man. Y'all have the floor. Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. That was a good build.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too, man. I appreciate your wisdom, man. I appreciate you exchanging information with me. I appreciate the dialogue we had. No disrespect, no arguing this. I should be done. And I appreciate Amaziah for putting this together. I appreciate Israel. I appreciate, like I said, my background, Nation of God's Nerve 5%er. I appreciate Islam. Every walk of life that I've been through, I have to appreciate it because it made me who I am today. It brought me to the truth. And I appreciate all the brothers that I encounter who strengthen my understanding, wisdom, and strength, most of all, to keep on praising, keep on doing what I do, not going back to taking. So I love y'all, brothers, and I appreciate it, man. Go ahead, King.
I just want to say, man. Oh, sorry, Em. Okay.
Oh no, you good? No, I was gonna say, man, that was a powerful build, man. That's why I wanted you brothers to get it in on the stream, and it was a good constructive convo. You know what I mean? Without all the fighting and yelling and cursing. You know what I mean? I want to say shalom to the brother BA as well. Just joined us and go ahead, Perry.
Word. I was basically gonna say the same thing, man. Both of y'all did your thing. D Miller, you know what I'm saying, as always, you know what I mean? Broke it down nice. Brother the Jesus, you know what I'm saying, as always, you broke it down nice, you know what I mean? That was a great thing, man. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed it. Just listening to you guys.
Yeah, that's something you never really get to hear either. Is let's talk about the African spiritualism. You know what I mean? Nobody ever really wants to put that to scrutiny. You know what I mean? The main guys that you see in the conscious community, on the House of Consciousness, Sonetta TV, all they you get into that and they're like, oh, that's spookism and this and this and that. Nah, man, that's what we dealing with is real here, and it's real to the people that practice it. You know what I mean? So, I believe that that all these deities and beings and demons and angels, you know what I mean? I believe in all of them. You know what I'm saying? I believe that they were, whether wicked spirits or whatever you want to call it. Something that came to somebody and I mean, you can't really tell somebody that those things don't exist, man. You know what I'm saying? Because they absolutely exist. So I think it was a good build.
Right. I concur. And another thing too, it was a very respectful build. Nobody overtalked nobody. Everybody was respectful toward one another. You know what I mean? So that was a breath of fresh air as well.
Most definitely. Hey, BA, man, you want to say something? The brother must have stepped away for a second. But shoot, man, if anybody got no more topics, man, anybody got anything on their mind? Hebrew Perry, you got anything?
Nah, I think that was good enough for the night. You know what I mean? As far as for a live joint, whatever else we probably decide to do, I think we should save it for another episode, another video. You know what I mean?
Most definitely, most definitely. Hey, you brothers want to go ahead and give an outro and tell everybody what you do and your channels and whatnot?
Absolutely. This is the brother Yahshua Libya Now, aka the Nile Valley Hebrew, also known as Jesus DiCaprio. You can check my work out at my channel, Yahshua Libya Now. And with me, it's all about edifying Israel and bringing the righteousness, man. It's all about, you know what I'm saying? Get back, telling the high self, come on in. And, you know what I'm saying? Edifying the people. So anybody got any questions for me, any concerns, you can hit me up. You can hit me through the chat, or you can email me at Allen, ALLEND 006 at gmail.com. That's ALLEND, the letter D, at 006 at gmail.com. I answer any of your questions. I see you anybody of information you need. And like I want to say to all the brothers out there, peace, Black African power, Salam Alaikum, peace to the gods and the earth, and Islam. You already know what it is. Your boy Jesus DiCaprio. Love y'all, and I'm signing off.
Hey, D. Miller, you want to give some last words, man? Tell people about what you're doing.
Sure. Just to keep it on the short side, we won't be long with this. Check us out on YouTube. Moab Bit is the name of the channel. It's spelled MOAB space BIT. It's 2 words. Moab Bit. We definitely deal with, what I like to feel is visionary types of works in the community. A lot of big things happen here on November the 1st. So I highly recommend you get to the channel, watch a couple of the videos, some of them long, some of them short, but get in tune. Yeah, I appreciate, man, the opportunity to be on the show.
Most definitely, brother. Hey, Hebrew Perry.
Yeah, y'all could subscribe to me on YouTube at Warrior Hebrew Perry, and check my website out as well at Warrior Hebrew Perry. And my email is Warrior Hebrew 140 at gmail.com. You know what I mean?
Most definitely. Toda Aki. Well, everybody, this is Amaziah Yahawada. This channel is KOJ. We had the brother Jesus, Yahshua Libya now, and the brother D. Miller going in today. Earlier I went over Psalms 1 through 3. We also got the brother Warrior Hebrew Perry joining us, listening in. We'll say shalom. All praise to the Most High, Yahuwah Bashem Washai, Baruch Atam to the Akyam Yasharah.